What's up guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Sylas in every mid lane matchup in the form of a tier list. So if you guys like this video, leave a like. If we get 1,000 likes, I will do a part 2 for top lane matchups. Leave a comment below saying what you think about the tier list, and if you disagree or agree. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's free, it's easy, and you can always change your mind and unsubscribe later. What we're going to do is we're going to put in a tier list, say how hard it is, and then basically explain how to play it. I will also leave champion timestamps as well for each champion, just in case if you're like, you want to bookmark this, and if you're in champion select and you want to know how to play this champion because you're just getting ready for it in the loading screen, this is going to be perfect for you. So the first champion is Ahri. Now, Ahri is actually going to be only hard, and that may surprise a lot of people because it is a ranged matchup. And how Ahri is, honestly, is basically, it's a game of chicken, where she has her charm, but you also have your dash. So if she uses her charm, she's basically free to kill. But you want to wait until she uses it, and then you use your dash. If you use your dash first, she will charm you because you have nothing, and you'll either have to flash it or you just die immediately. So it's really just a burst kind of lane, and you just gotta bait out her charm. Once her charm's gone, you get it for free. And Ahri's especially a great matchup in my opinion because she gives you a fantastic ulti to steal. So she's only gonna be in the hard because she does also give you an ultimate in return. If her ulti wasn't as good, she would probably be in the very hard. But matchup-wise, all you've got to do is play safe, play careful, and play around her charm. Make sure to save your dash until she uses it, and then she's just a free kill, and you should all in her. Normally, I like to play extremely aggressive, but also try to hide behind the minions so that it's a lot harder to get charmed. And kind of just wait until level 6 is the best bet, unless you get a gank from your jungler. But that is the Ahri matchup, and she's only going to be hard. Now, Akali, a lot of people think Sylas counter Akali, and it's honestly, it's a very dependent matchup. So she's going to be hard because, like I said, the champions that will be in hard, they're only hard because they give you a really good ulti in return, and that's really important as a Sylas player, obviously. As you're gonna see, there are some champions that don't give you very good ultis in return. But Akali's matchup is really hard because of the fact that her Q is very, very frustrating to play against, and the fact that she can Q you a lot, and you can't do anything to trade her back, makes it a very hard lane in general. So what this means is that in this matchup, you gotta keep your distance. And you also got to be mindful of her energy. So what that means is when she doesn't have energy, that's the time to go in. If she has energy, be a little careful. And your reaction time has got to be snappy. Because a lot of the times in this matchup, she'll Q you, and then before you could even hit her, she'll go in her shroud, which makes her untargetable, and she basically gets a really good trade-off. So whenever she does Q you, try to press your W on her immediately, because she does have to get a little close, and your W is actually in range. So this is a very complicated matchup for that reason. Although you're both melee, she does have a little bit of range on you. So the best way to play this matchup is just try to W her every time she uses her knives, and then walk away. If you have no W, don't get too close to her, and just try to honestly trade with her as much as possible. But the best thing to do, and this is like the Ahri matchup, is honestly wait until level 6 because you're basically Akali, but better. With the Akali ulti, you actually kind of destroy her. So it's really good to wait until 6 if you do want to fight her because the early game is a little bit in her favor. You're both awful early game. I'm not going to say Akali's not. She's very bad early game, but so is Sylas. So it's a bit of a complicated matchup, and it tends to go even a lot of the time. I would say this is more of a skill matchup because I've seen a lot of Akalis fail to beat a Sylas, but I've also seen a lot of Akalis destroy Sylas players. So it's really just a difference in playstyle of reaction time, because as an Akali player, you gotta be quick to get in and get out with your Q. As a Sylas player, you gotta be really quick to use your W, because if you don't use your W, she's going to win the trade. So that's the main thing that you wanna keep in your mind for this matchup, is just make sure you have your finger on W ready for standby. Let's get into Anivia, and we're actually gonna put her in very hard. When she was in meta, I banned Anivia almost every game. I genuinely don't know how to play against her, and I like to think of TP and Ignite as more of a personal thing, and I almost always go Ignite. But against Anivia, I take TP, and the reason is she is just such a bully. And one of Sylas's hardest counters, as you'll see, there are just some insane counters for Sylas. And she's one of them. She's brutal. What? Okay, there we go. Just wanted to make sure we got music. But she's going to be in the very hard tier list. Be careful when you play against her. And honestly, there is really nothing you can do because Sylas' early game is already bad. Anivia's early game is really good in general because of her passive. Meaning, Sylas has super long cooldowns. Even if you kill her, you won't have the cooldown reduction to kill her again. So, honestly, in this matchup, don't try to fight her unless you get a gank. Because she will outpoke you. She has a lot more. Just try to farm to your best ability. Sometimes even farming is hard. Just make sure you're within range for CS. It's okay to lose some health for CS, for experience and gold, because like I said, you will be taking TP in this matchup. So if you get a little low, feel free to recall and TP back to lane. But I seriously suggest not even trying to 1v1 her, because even if you beat her, like I said, you still got that egg to deal with. Sylas's cooldowns are so long in the laning phase that there's no way you're going to be able to kill her twice. So unless you get a gank, play it cool, focus on CSing, maybe even get a Doran's shield if you're really not comfortable with it. That'll help you out a lot, but just focus on last hitting. Don't be afraid to use your passive auto attacks. Even use your W for a cannon minion. I know it's a lot of mana and a lot of people don't like it, but sometimes you gotta do it. So Anivia is very hard, and proceed with caution. Annie, I would honestly say, is easy. Easy for the fact that she's not too brutal, and it's really easy to trade with her. Her ulti is fantastic, as a matter of fact, and Annie is one of the only champions that I will do this, but I like to take Nullifying Orb when I go with Annie because she's a burst champion. But the thing is, Sylas is really good at surviving bursts, and having a Nullifying Orb basically just takes that away from her. Whereas, if she uses all of her abilities on you... Ow, my cat, it just attacked me and ripped my... Ow. Okay. If she goes everything on you, and you live, which you probably will, she's dead, which makes it a really great lane. Her range is annoying, yeah, but honestly, you can fight back pretty easily. She's got no dash, which makes it really easy to hit your E on her. And all she has is the movement speed from her E, so she's actually very easy to land your E2 on her. Champions that have dashes normally make it a little harder, but she's an immobile champion, really easy to just get that E2 on her, and it's a fairly easy matchup. I would play pretty aggressive into this and take Ignite. Just try to get your abilities on her, and then once you've used your abilities, run away. That's basically the best thing to do, is just constantly be aggressive towards her. Of course, being mindful of the other, like, jungle trying to gank you, keep warding. But I would push this lane to the max and just try to stop her from all times. And dominate the lane, make as much pressure as possible. And if you push, I would push in this lane a lot, and when you push in, try to roam. So that's the Annie matchup. Aurelion Sol, in general, is not that good of a champion, so we're just gonna push him into the easy because he has no dash. Like I said, it makes it really easy to kill him. Champions that don't have dashes. He's not very aggressively poking. He doesn't really put you in a corner like Anivia does, say, with the slow and the stun. He has one stun, which is pretty easy to dodge, and he doesn't really have a slow. Just really that stun. So he's fairly easy. It's a very easy lane to be aggressive towards. It's ranged, yes, but if you play around his cooldowns, if he uses his Q, he's basically super free to hit with your E2. And I normally go very aggressive in this lane. Really not that much. You're not going to see this matchup very much, but if you do, don't be afraid, and honestly, pick Sylas into it. Fallback is that his ulti is not that great, but it's better than others. Like Anivia has an awful ulti to steal. Aurelion Sol at least does damage and slows, so we'll take it. This is a pretty hard one. Mostly because he has a lot of poke, and it's pretty hard to catch him. He has his E, which is a very long dash, and he's got these annoying sand soldiers constantly hacking at you while you're trying to CS that don't cost him that much mana. And it's just a really annoying lane. I wouldn't put it in the very hard because his ulti is just game-changing for Sylas. You can get some nasty freaking plays with it, and that's the only reason I'm only going to put him in the hard thing. His laning phase is disgusting, and it's really awful, but you could seriously change the tide of a game with one good Azir ulti, with an E2 dash or a flash play, And you're honestly, it's like I said, Akali, you're a better Azir when you have his ulti because you're a lot more quick and mobile. You can get close to that. You can get closer to the enemy than Azir obviously can. Azir has to be a bit careful, but as a Sylas player, we don't really mind getting deep into it. With the laning phase, I actually would suggest taking TP because you're going to be pretty useless until you're even level 3, and even after level 3, it's pretty hard. So you're probably going to get poked down in this lane a lot. I would take TP because you'll be low and you don't want to miss minion experience or CS. So that'll be that. Brand is okay. Brand is okay because he doesn't have a dash, which makes it really easy to kill him, but he's got a lot of damage. And unlike Annie, he can actually burst us or poke us down in a kill. He's got a really annoying stun. His Pillar of Flame, which is his W, is just so wide where it's really annoying, honestly, because if you use your dash to avoid his pillar, well then he's just going to EQ you and stun you. So the thing about Brand that makes it a bit hard is that he has multiple ways of poking and stunning you versus someone like Annie and Aurelion Sol only have like one ability that will stun you. He's got a lot of poke and it's really freaking annoying, but at the same time he's super squishy, super immobile, so as long as you hit your E2, he's basically dead meat. And his ulti, not the best, but not the worst. It does damage, and it'll bounce off of you. So unfortunately, you don't get his passive proc, which is like where most of his damage comes from. It's definitely a free passive proc for yourself, and it'll probably do the execution damage that you need. That matchup is, I actually do like a Brain matchup. And Cassiopeia, oh man. She's going into the very hard. When I say very hard, these are champions that I ban if I just don't feel like it. If I'm just having an off day and I don't want to deal with it, I'm going to ban some of these champions. And Cassiopeia has been my go-to ban recently because she's gotten buffed, because she's pretty damn popular, which I hate. And I honestly don't know what to say about this matchup. It's actually less, I think Anivia's is worse. It's less awful because you do have a chance to kill her, but it's damn hard knowing that her field, her W field, you can't W, you can't dash out of it, you can't flash out of it. It's almost certain death. So in this matchup, almost never try to fight her unless she's already used her W. The good news is her W is on a very long cooldown, but if she has that W up, don't even try. I mean, she will just poke you to the ends of the earth, and this is a TP lane for sure. I mean, oh my god, I can't tell you. Her mana costs are low. She's just constantly cute. You have to be on top of your game, clicking away, trying to dodge as fast as possible. Getting early boots is not a bad idea because the movement speed will be important to dodge those constant Qs. And she's a very hard matchup. So in this lane, I wouldn't try to fight her unless her W is down or you're getting a gank from a jungler. You're mostly going to be pushed to your tower because it's one of those kind of lanes. You're going to be pushed into your tower. And so you just really just try to focus on farming and stuff like that. So that's the Cassiopeia lane. Very, very hard. And if you don't like her, feel free to ban her because I do. I don't really consider Cho'Gath a mid laner. We'll probably use him for the top lane part of this video, but I'm going to skip that for the mid lane part because he's not really much of a mid laner. So let's skip to Corki. Corki, I'm going to say he's hard for the honest reason. And let me just tell you, most of the matchups you're going to see here, they're going to be either very hard or hard. Sylas does not get very good matchups in general. His laning phase sucks, let's be honest. So most of them are going to be pretty hard. Corki's is hard because he has a dash, he's ranged and got poke, and unfortunately he scales. That's one of the most annoying things. Sylas is one of the best scaling champions in the game, so it's okay to take a little heat in the beginning as long as you're staying within range. Corki scales like a freaking crazy dude. He is so annoying to play against, and the good thing and the reason why he's in hard is because he gives a really good ultimate. In a different way than the other ones, his ultimate gives you 8 passive stacks, which is really good. I mostly steal the ultimate for that reason, not because the missiles actually do damage. They do damage. But having an extra passive stack that many times in a fight just makes a tremendous difference, especially in the late game when you're just every auto attack is a passive attack. That's just so much bonus damage. So laning phase wise, you're gonna want to be pretty careful. You could take TP, but I wouldn't say you'd need to for this one. I like to take Ignite because he's pretty easy to kill. Once he uses his W, which is his dash, he's pretty easy to kill. I would only say take TP just because of roaming purposes. Obviously, Corki is really good at roaming, so if you want to be a team player and TP whenever he ganks a lane, because he will with his package of a passive, take TP. I'm not much of a team player. I like to win my lane very hard, which is why I take Ignite. But the Corki matchup, he really isn't that good in the early game. He's more just annoying and sustain, but his damage isn't too much where it actually makes a difference for you. So he's going to stay in the hard section, and you basically just kind of want to farm until you're at least level 3 and then make some trades with him there, here and there. Okay, so Diana. She's more of a jungler now, but I'll still put her in because some people like to play her mid lane. She does have a certain mid lane playstyle. Okay. He just wants my attention. She's gonna go into okay. She's ranged, which makes it pretty easy. Her ultimate's fantastic to take. You know what? Actually, I would say she's pretty easy. Yeah, she is pretty easy. She has the same struggles as Sylas does, being a ranged player. Her poke isn't that crazy, and all she's really got is her Q. It's really easy to lock her down. She has no dash unless she dashes to a target champion, but that doesn't really matter because most of the time she doesn't. Her ulti is basically better on Sylas than it is better on her, in my opinion, and I think she's honestly a pretty easy matchup in just the way that she's like a worse version of Sylas, in my opinion. She's really easy to trade with. You can get a whole combo off on her. Meanwhile, all she does is Q you and auto attack you. So really not that good of a mid laner in general, which is why we're seeing her in jungle. But whenever a champion is melee, offers a good ulti, and Sylas can out-trade, they're always going to be in the easy pile. She might even be easier than Aurelion Sol and Annie because she's not ranged. So that's a pretty great matchup. And talking about great matchups that are melee and great ultis are Ekko. Ekko, in my opinion, is a worse version of Sylas as well. And he is a lot like Sylas, in my opinion, because his E is a dash, his Q is a projectile that does damage, and he heals. But Sylas has a way better kit for Ekko's ulti. So I honestly just think when Sylas takes Ekko's ulti, it's so easy. Ekko has the same trade style as Sylas, where he gets a few hits and then runs away. Well, Sylas is the same way. You just want to get your W, your E, your Q, and then run away until your cooldowns are back up. The thing about Ekko is that he doesn't heal off of his abilities, he heals off his ulti, which makes laning against Ekko really easy because most of the time, you'll out-trade him with your W healing, whereas he doesn't have anything like that. His W is a shield, which is worse. So the Ekko lane, I like to play very aggressive. I like to take Ignite. I don't even take TP because if you ever need, his ulti is like a free recall and then you ulti back. Play very aggressive into this. I would really urge your jungler to come camp you because you will probably be able to carry the game shutting down an Ekko lane like that. Constantly shoving the lane in. Make sure you have vision around. But I like to roam a lot when I'm against an Ekko as well because it's really easy to roam. If you steal the ultimate and then go bottom or top, you can make a really easy tower dive. Because you have the Ekko ulti, you can just zoom back out of there out of a risky dive. So I love the Ekko matchup. Personally, I prefer to take Sylas when that happens. We're gonna skip Cho'Gath, we're gonna skip Ezreal. Fiddlesticks, we'll take him in. Honestly, he's easy. He's like Diana and Ekko in the same way where it's awful because all of the easy matchups are junglers now. All of Sylas's easy matchups are junglers, which sucks because they're easy matchups for us. And they're just so much better in the jungle than they are mid laner. Sylas just absolutely destroys Fiddlesticks in every way. He has no dash, he's so squishy, he's so easy to kill, you out-trade him. He does have sustain, but you're basically a better Fiddlesticks when you're level 6 because you have Fiddlesticks players buy Rocket Belt. They buy Hextech Rocket Belt because they have no dash. Well, Sylas has a dash, so he doesn't even need to worry about that. It's so great. And honestly, it's one of those game-winning ultimates where Fiddlesticks just... Oh man, you do more damage than a Fiddlesticks, you are better kit than Fiddlesticks, you just do way more than him, and you could just bully him. So another lane that you want to take Ignite, you want to be as aggressive as possible. You want to make sure you ward the side lanes though, because he does have his Silence and Fear, which makes it really easy to be ganked. But other than that, I mean, you just want to constantly bother him, and easily you could probably one-shot him most of the time because he's just so damn squishy and so easy to kill with Ignite, especially reducing his healing from his W. Just a fantastic matchup, and I urge people to play Fiddlesticks more so I can have more fun. Fizz. Another champion that we don't see very often. He's not easy because he's Fizz and he's really annoying, but he is an okay matchup where he is melee, which makes it really easy and is why he's in the okay pile, but he's also really hard to get a hold of. He can get a full combo on you and then just E out of there. So there are some times when Fizz gets really annoying to play against, and if it's a good Fizz player, you might not win if they're fast on their reaction time. There's also a thing where if you W Fizz and he E's, your W will go on cooldown and you won't heal or deal damage. So if a Fizz player is really good, if his reaction time is good, he'll probably wreck you. Most aren't, and Sylas is a good way of dealing with Fizz's E, whereas Sylas has a dash of his own, so it's easy to maneuver out of there and then jump right back in. Also, Fizz's ulti is very great to steal, but another thing to remember is that Fizz's E, if you try to steal his ulti and Fizz E's, your ultimate will go on cooldown and you get nothing. So be aware of these little things. Other than that, the lane shouldn't be too bad. I would go Ignite because Fizz is probably going Ignite, and it's probably going to be a Fiesta of a lane where you're trying to kill each other constantly, but just make sure if he kills you, you kill him back, and it's a 1-for-1 at the end. So Galio is known to be one of Sylas' hardest counters, and he is going in the very hard pile because he basically is a really hard counter for any melee mage. Ekko, Akali, Sylas, he has a magic shield, he has so much CC and poke, and he's a tank, which obviously assassins hate, or not even just assassins, but he's just hard to kill. Honestly, he's really hard to kill, and he has so much CC, he's so annoying. If you get close to him, he'll do his combo and then jump out. Very hard lane. I don't see many people winning it, and this is in the very hard pile for the same reason why Cassiopeia and Anivia are too. You just want to farm, and unless you get a gank, you don't want to fight him, but he is just a monster. I recommend taking TP for this, for the fact that he's a roaming champion, and when he ultis his allies in the bot lane, and then your team spams question marks on you, you're going to feel pretty bad. So you want to take TP. And his ulti is a really long cooldown by itself, but when you're playing Sylas, it's almost a 3-minute cooldown, which is such a long time. So you have to be really careful when you steal his ultimate, because chances are the enemy team's going to be like, okay, Sylas has Galio's ultimate, let's play safe until it runs out. Then he won't be able to Galio ultimate for about 4 minutes. So unless you know a play is about to happen and you want to take his ulti, usually when I take Galio's ulti, I try to tell my team, hey, let's force an objective. Normally it's when Dragon or Baron are up and things are a bit tense. It's good to hold on to that Galio ultimate because the enemy will be like, okay, we need to go in here, but we can't because Sylas has Galio's ultimate, and they get a little shaky. So in high pressure situations, it's a very good ultimate to steal when a team fight's going to be good, because technically you have more AP than a Galio would, so your ultimate would deal more damage and give more shields to your team. But this is a very hard matchup laning phase, and you have to be very mindful of when you steal it, how you steal it, why you're stealing it, and you don't want to just steal it willy-nilly, is what I'm trying to say. And, oh god, this is, I think, of all matchups, he's very hard. Every person who's in the very hard category is very hard for a reason. Heimerdinger's reason is because he is the most goddamn annoying poke-heavy champion, to the point where it's hard to even be in XP range. And XP range is so huge, but this guy with his turrets, oh, it's just almost impossible. This lane, I would even say, and I never say this, if you have too much trouble, take Fleet Footwork. You are, and TP of course, the sustain is really necessary in this matchup, but you can almost never go into him. You can never dash into a Heimerdinger, because if you do, he's got 3 turrets waiting for you. He's going to grenade you, he's going to rocket you, and you're not even going to get one ability off. I mean, most of the time, I would only ever gank Heimerdinger when I get a gank, and sometimes it goes for a double kill. It's so hard. Going Q-Max is also a good idea here. If you go Q-Max, you can use that to get rid of his turrets as soon as he puts them down. I would not go W-Max into this matchup. Now, luckily, Heimerdinger is not too popular of a champion, so let's hope it stays that way. If he was popular, I probably would ban him more. I personally think he's the worst for Sylas. Like, he should be in his own category of hardest Sylas counter, but because he's not popular, I don't ban him. Thank God not many people play him, but this is a lane. Don't even try to like CS half the time. Just try to be in XP range. Use your Q to kill those turrets. Use your Q to farm as well. That's another reason why you go Q-Max. You just want to farm from a distance and run back and just keep doing that. Very hard matchup. If you're in Champion Select and you're against a Heimerdinger, I wish you good luck because you're going to need it. I'd say Karma is a mid laner. I would say that's a fair assumption. So we're going to put her in the okay. She's okay because her damage isn't high. She has no dash. She has movement speed, but she has no dash, which makes it easy. She's okay, though, because her mana costs are so low that she could just constantly bombard you with these spells that do, like, no damage. But after, like, the 10th or 11th one, you got a recall, and it's just super annoying. Do we got a song playing? Okay. It's just super annoying. And, God, she just won't leave you alone. But on the plus side, she has a fantastic ultimate to steal, and normally I don't like transformation ultimates, and what that means is an ultimate like Jace or Nidalee or Elise. I normally don't ever even steal them, but Karma's are fantastic, where her Q, and if you don't know, if you steal Karma's ulti, it's basically like Heimerdinger's, where you press R and you get the choice to either do her empowered Q, W, or E, and all of them are fantastic. It really depends on the situation. Say, if you want to help a teammate escape, use the E. If you're trying to chase an enemy, use the E. If you're trying to lock down an enemy, use the W. And if you just want to do a far, long-range shot, use the Q. It's a fantastic ultimate to steal. And that's really the only reason it's okay, is because I think it's one of the best Sylas ultimates because it is so variety-based, where if you need a defensive ulti, you can use it as that, or an offensive ulti. It's just fantastic, especially with Sylas' scaling. The laning phase will be obviously hard, her being ranged, but because she has no dash, once she uses her Q, which is a slow, it's really easy to lock her down, and I would usually fight her once she's used her ultimate or her Q in general. That's a good time to just jump right in on her, and you'll most likely do really well in the trade-offs, and that's why I suggest taking Ignite, because it's a pretty easy kill lane for Karma, and you don't even need ganks. It's easy to farm with, and it's just a great matchup, honestly. So let's go into a not so great matchup. In my opinion, pretty great matchup, and you guys are probably gonna wonder, people think that Kassadin is a huge Sylas counter, and I'm gonna prove you all wrong by putting him in the easy. And let me explain why. A lot of people are still going Conqueror, which is a good rune on Sylas, but specifically in the Kassadin matchup, I highly suggest you take Ignite, even if you're a Conqueror player. And the reason is, Kassadin's early game sucks, but that's where you take over. He is so annoying. The thing about Kassadin is you have to stop him from the beginning. You can't let him scale. So in the Kassadin matchup as Sylas, be as aggressive as possible. Kassadins will be pretty defensive, which means they won't do as much damage as you. And honestly, just get that electrocute proc every time it's up. W, E, auto, boom, electrocute proc, walk away. Wait for your electrocute cooldown to come back. W, auto, ignite, kill. In about 2 trades, you'll probably kill him with the sudden impact damage and the electrocute damage. It's a really easy lane because he's melee and has a lot of the same style struggles as Sylas. Normally you want to fight him when his Q is down because that's a magic shield, but it's actually a really easy matchup. As long as you keep him, if you're constantly aggressive towards him, he'll never get to the point of scaling. And his ultimate's really great, not because of the damage, but because it's basically an extra dash for Sylas, which makes his mobility really great. He's going to stay in the easy pile, and I want to see and hear more people doing better against him, because you just can't. People are giving Kassadin too much respect in the early game, and the truth is, you shouldn't give him respect. You should be as aggressive as possible and just try to never let him scale. You want to keep killing him, have your jungler camp you, and that way you will outscale Kassadin. Because Sylas, like I said, is a very good scaling champion. So be aggressive in this lane, try to poke him down as much as possible, and don't even give him a chance of coming back into the game. That is the Kassadin matchup. Now let's get into an awful matchup. Katarina. And normally I would put her in very hard, but because she is melee, she's just going to go in the hard. See, Katarina is broken. I think we can all agree on that. She's really high damage, really annoying, gotta be careful with her constantly. But the laning phase is not very bad for the same reason that she struggles with a lot of the same things Sylas does. So Katarina is melee, which is pretty great because she won't really poke you down in the laning phase. All she's really got is her Q, which it's a little bit of damage, but honestly, you out-trade her. Now, the weird thing about Katarina, which is so backwards compared to every other champion, is that she's better than you after level 6. Her ulti is really bad to steal, and not only that, but it procs Grievous Wounds, which is anti-heal, if you didn't know that. And we, as Sylas players, hate anti-heal. I mean, it is so annoying. So she could literally press her ultimate for 1 second, and it's better. She's really, really hard to catch because she's got her E-dash, and she could dash to a knife, and she's just extremely, extremely mobile. So it's really hard to lock her down and hit that E2 on her. And for that reason, it's so weird because she's such a specific matchup. She's hard for all of the reasons opposite of every other champion. Like Akali or Ahri, they're hard pre-6, but post-6, they're really easy to kill. It's the exact opposite with Katarina. She's such an easy lane pre-6, but post-6, she becomes so hard to play against, and that's why she is a hard matchup. If you don't like Katarina in general, I would honestly suggest banning her because she's also an insanely scaling champion, and the anti-heal just is really bad, as well as you almost never want to steal Katarina's ulti because it sits you in place. And as Sylas, you don't want to be sitting in one place. You want to be moving here and there and everywhere. So Katarina's a hard matchup. Definitely just be conscious of when her E is up. When her E is down, try to fight her. While it's up, I honestly wouldn't suggest it. Try to kill her before she's level 6. Be aggressive like the Kassadin lane before level 6, before she outscales you. But once she hits level 6, definitely give her the respect she deserves. Play it a little cool, be respectful, and just try to be mindful of her cooldowns and when her ultimate is up. Now LeBlanc, this has been seen a lot in pro play, and Sylas is actually a LeBlanc counter. These easy matchups, they're not exactly Sylas counters, they're more just like, well, it's not too bad for Sylas to play against, they give good ultimates, but LeBlanc, straight up everything in her kit sucks against Sylas for the fact that she's a burst champion, and Sylas can just heal. And that's why most of the burst champions are in the easy pile, while most of the poke and annoying champions are harder. Whenever there's a burst champion against Sylas, Sylas almost never dies to one burst. His scaling with health, armor, and magic resist are really, really good. So when these burst champions use everything and they don't kill you, and then Sylas heals more the less health he has, it just sucks. And the way you want to play the LeBlanc matchup is whenever she W's into you, be quick on that trigger finger of your W. W her. She'll usually QW you. If you just W her, it's gonna be like nothing even happened. You're gonna out-trade her every time because you heal and she doesn't. You're healing the damage that she's doing to you. So it's basically like nothing happened, and she's low HP. Really, I know there is Bobkin, who is a famous LeBlanc player, and I've watched his stream. He bans Sylas every game. LeBlanc players hate Sylas, and for good reason. Sylas also is so good for stealing LeBlanc's ulti for the fact that it's just a better ulti on Sylas than it is LeBlanc. Never use the Q though. When you steal LeBlanc's ulti, never use her Q because it almost does 0 damage. Always use the chain or the dash, but it's literally just a better you're just a better LeBlanc, and the laning phase just sucks for her because she just gets out-traded every time. So in the laning phase, don't be afraid to go Ignite. Be aggressive, but also be mindful of her chains. The only advice I would give is you save your E dash for her chain. That is basically the only way she'll kill you, is if she hits that on you. Rendering Sylas CC'd is always a really easy way to kill Sylas, but she's only got 1 chain, 2 after her ulti. It's pretty easy to dodge, and like I said, most of the time, as long as you got your finger on the W, just click that whenever she jumps on you, and it's like nothing even happened. Really, really good matchup for Sylas. And we're going to go into another golden matchup for Sylas. I wish Lissandra was more popular, because she is actually known to be one of the easiest matchups for Sylas, for the reason that her ultimate is just godlike. I mean, it is everything you would want in a Sylas ultimate. Her laning phase is not too pokey, she's not that aggressive, and she's pretty immobile. It's pretty easy to predict where she's gonna E, but the main reason she's in the easy pile, I'm not saying she's easy to lane against, she's actually quite difficult. She's got poke, she's got range on you, but by God, when you hit level 6, it's just not even fair. For the reason that you can ulti, it's a zone, like Zhonya's is an amazing item on Sylas. Imagine a Zhonya's that heals you. Yeah, it's pretty great. So with the Lissandra matchup, you don't have to play too aggressive, but like right when you hit level 6, jump on her and you'll one-shot her, I promise you that. For that reason, take Ignite. And she has a lot of sustain with mana, so the laning phase will be pretty hard. Just try to CS to the best of your ability. If you get a gank, be aggressive. Try to use your E to dodge her Q, because that's usually what she's going to use for you. Getting early boots is not a bad idea to kind of sidestep and maneuver around those. Really just focus on farming. Use your mana to farm. Don't use your mana to poke her down, because most likely you won't have the burst damage to kill her until you can steal her ultimate. So LeBlanc is easy, or I'm sorry, Lissandra is really easy for that reason. Now, a little bit of a harder matchup, but also not impossible matchup, is Lux. She's going in the OK pile, because anyone who can CC Sylas is bad. And the thing about Lux is that if she hits her Q, you're dead. If she misses her Q, she's dead. And that's why she's okay, because she's annoying, she's ranged, but she's really immobile. I mean, she doesn't even have a speed. Some people like Karma or like Annie, they have a little bit of speed to help them dodge your E2, but she's got nothing. I mean, she's so easy to hit your E2 on. So normally the way you want to play this lane is you kind of want to play chicken, and you want to wait for her to use her Q. Once she uses her Q and she misses it, then you dash in, you do everything. It's an instant one-shot. Another reason why this is good is Lux is a very good ultimate to combo with, and what that means is that for those of you that don't know, there's an ER combo where you can cast an ultimate like Lux's, for example, during your E2. So while you're literally in that very small amount of time that you're pulling into the enemy champion, if you press R, mind you have to steal it before this. You can't steal it in the middle. So say you're holding onto the Lux R, you E-dash in her. While you E-dash, you Lux ulti, and then boom, I mean, she's just deleted before you can honestly use all of your abilities. So it's a very easy matchup for that way. There is a little bit of complications because she's ranged, and so you run into those problems that most ranged matchups have, which is poke, which is the Q. But like I said, without that, she's nothing. She's got no speed, and you just have to wait until she uses her Q, and then you all in her. For that reason, be sure to take Ignite, try to focus on laning, and don't really do any plays until you're level 3. That way you have your E, your W, and your Q. You really just want to have your dash ready and available for that. You want a W, and then once you've used all of your cooldowns, you walk away and do it again until you can kill her. Now, Malzahar will actually go into the very hard matchup because he has a lot of poke. CC, we hate CC as Sylas, and this dude's ulti is just stupid. It's just stupid, man. It's great to steal, yeah, but it's better. These are one of the ultimates that it's better on Malzahar than it is on Sylas, and that's not very common, but it's better for Malzahar when he has the ultimate, and to just ulti Sylas renders him useless. Everyone's gonna jump on you. It's really, really annoying. And the laning phase is almost impossible with all of the constant poke and the E. He's really good at shoving the lane in, and Sylas is really bad at CSing under tower. He's really bad at CSing in general, but the fact that he just constantly shoves you in, if you get too close, he's just going to E you. And his passive makes it really hard that if you hit your E2, if his passive is up, you know, he doesn't get stunned. So this is a hard matchup, but not an impossible matchup. You try to use your Q to get rid of his spell shield. I wouldn't suggest fighting him unless you're getting a gank though. Try to get the spell shield out if you're about to get a gank. But other than that, don't even try, because he'll most likely out-trade you. Yes, you heal, but he'll almost always have the minion wave advantage, which means a lot because especially in the early game, minions do a lot of damage. So when you're fighting him in the middle of 6 minions, and he's also got his voidlings, so that's like 8 minions, there's no way you're going to win in a trade with Malzahar. Super annoying guy. The laning phase is almost impossible unless you get a gank. So for that reason, be respectful. He has very good laning against you. He has really good poke. Take TP if you don't feel confident. You don't have to take TP in this matchup because he's squishy. He doesn't have a dash. He doesn't have a speed up. But for all of the other reasons, he's very hard. If he did have a dash or speed up, God, this would probably be Sylas' worst matchup. But one good thing is that he doesn't. So he's not impossible to beat. And just try to be respectful of his abilities, if anything. Be respectful of the minion wave. That's really important on Malzahar. And yeah, waiting for a gank. If you steal his ulti while he has a spell shield, you will still steal it. So that is a good sign. But make sure you don't ulti him without getting rid of that. Your Q is really good for getting rid of that. So just keep pressing your Q until you hit it out of the way, and then you could be a little bit more aggressive. I'm honestly not quite sure why Morgana and Nautilus are here. They are most definitely not mid laners, so we're gonna skip them. Neeko, wow, I literally forgot she was a champion in the game, but she's actually pretty hard. She's really, really annoying. Her cooldowns are really low. I'm trying to remember when I used to play against this champion. I haven't seen anyone play Neeko in a freaking long time, but I'm glad because she's really hard to play against and really annoying. She has low mana costs. Her cooldowns are pretty low. She's tricky. Her W makes it really hard to tell which one to E, and she's a pretty hard matchup, but she's not impossible because of the amazing ulti she has. And what that means is she uses her ulti better than, or Sylas uses her ulti better than probably she does herself. This is another ER combo where I was talking about Lux. You can cast this ultimate while you're in the middle of your E2, and that can make a really big deal. So like I said, you need to have the ulti already on standby, and you want to E2. The thing, it doesn't have to be hurt anyone, and then you just ulti while you're mid grab, and boom, it is just an amazing ultimate. If you have Zhonya's, even better. It's a shield, it's a damage, it's a CC, really, really good. The laning phase is going to be really hard, I won't lie to you, but it's still playable. What you want to do in this laning phase, early boots is always a good decision to try to, you know, maneuver around the EQs. But like any other champion, once she uses her abilities, that's the time for you to go in. Never be the one to dash first. You want to wait until she uses her abilities, especially her E, for obvious reasons. Once she uses her E, she's really easy to lock down. But like I said, if you use your dash too early and then she E's you, well, she's going to get the whole combo out on you and then run away. So a decently hard matchup, but the potential you have stealing her ultimate, like Azir, like all of the hard lane matchups, is really, really good, and that's what makes it really good. So play pretty safe until level 6 at least. Go for some trades here and there, but make sure you wait until she's used her cooldowns before you can use yours. Alrighty, so Orianna, whew, tough matchup for sure, for all of the reasons where she almost always takes phase rush, which is, God, really annoying. She's got movement speed from her W. Her auto attacks just slap, and if that wasn't bad enough, so does her ball. Her mana costs are low. She can almost always, whenever you go up for CS, she just puts her ball down there, and it's just so... This is more of a mentally straining matchup than anything, because it's so frustrating that every time you walk up, you get poked and you get slowed and you get this and that. So she's really, really hard, laning-wise specifically. Now, once Sylas has more movement speed, some health cooldown, it's not too bad. She's a little easy to lock down. You can get some pretty awesome combos with her ultimate ability using the ER combo. While you're using your E2 and you're pulling into them, you can use the ulti. Really good burst damage with her ulti, but the laning phase is just brutal. And I've had some times where I probably have half CS or something like that because I'm just getting poked. So you will get poked in this lane. If you really are uncomfortable with that, I would suggest taking fleet forward. Definitely take TP. you're gonna get poked whenever you go in for CS. That's a fact, honestly. But she is not an impossible matchup. She's really not that bad after your level 6. But the first 3 levels, when you only have one ability, is just really, really straining. And most of the time, you lose that matchup before you're even level 3. So just be really, really respectful. Once you're level 3, you can go for some trades. But try to be careful. Don't let her get her phase rush proc, because then she's going to zoom around and she's going to be really hard to hit. Be respectful of her kit. Be respectful of her mobility. But also, if you're getting a gank, if you're feeling confident, you got some really good burst damage. She is squishy. She is pretty easy to kill. It's just a matter of, you know, getting your hands on her and, you know, being able to do that. She just has insane poke, and it's an annoying, frustrating matchup. Rumble is really, really annoying. He's kind of like Galio in the same sense that he's annoying. I don't think he's as bad as Galio, so he's going to be put in the hard. Thankfully, he's more of a jungle now than a mid laner, so you don't really have to worry about that too much, but you will still see him in the mid lane, sometimes in the top lane as well, and he's just annoying for the fact that he has no mana, which means he can spam his abilities, and whenever you walk up to CS, he just flame spitters you, which is his Q. He just flame spitters you, and it's just like, it's really, really annoying. He's got a shield, and he's got slow. It's a hard matchup, but it's not impossible. Most of the time, you don't really want to fight him unless you have a gank, but this is another matchup where you can take TP, and the good news is you're both melee, so the weird thing about Rumble is that he's melee, but he has a lot of poke, which normally the poke champions are ranged, but that's where the difficulty comes in with Rumble. It is a really good ultimate to steal. It's a hard one, which is why he's in the hard category. It's a hard ulti to steal, but it's really good on Sylas. And although Rumble is annoying, he only has a speed up. He does not have a dash, so he's pretty easy to lock down. If you get pretty close to him, you can E2 him and combo him. He's not exactly a tank like Galio is, so he is pretty squishy and he is one-shottable. It's more of just annoying while there's no mana in the beginning of the game. Whenever you walk up, he has his Q, so be mindful of that. What I do is I try to bait out his Q, so I'll walk up, and then once he Qs, I'll walk away, and then, you know, his Q is on somewhat of a cooldown, so then you can try to CS, clear the wave a little bit, but while that Q's up, you gotta be respectful. Don't take too much damage from it, because he does scale that first, and just kind of be respectful of mana-less champions in general, like Katarina. Mana-less champions are really, really annoying to play against, so as long as you're respectful of that and your cooldowns, it shouldn't be too bad of a matchup. Ryze. Ryze is coming pretty popular, and here's the reason. I'm going to put him in very hard because he has the worst ultimate to steal. I mean, I think even Ryze players hate their own ultimates. God, what a boring ultimate. I genuinely just think it's boring. It has play potential with Sylas, yes, but I don't really care about play potential when I'm playing Sylas. I care about doing damage. This does not do any damage. And it's only good rank 2 and 3. Rank 1, this ultimate barely even carries you any distance. I almost never steal this ultimate. It is just so bad. He is a poke champion. He has a lot of mana. The laning phase is already hard. It's not as hard as other ones because he doesn't have a dash. He has movement speed, which is a little bit annoying, especially when he goes phase rush. But he's not exactly a hard champion to lock down. His range is pretty small for a ranged champion. It's actually closer than you would think. So it's not impossible. Of course he has really good wave clear. Of course he pushes you into lane. But the main reason why he is bad is because he can kite really well. You know, he just EW Qs you, runs away, EWs Q. And Sylas players, we hate CC. We hate being kited. So for that reason, Ryze is a really hard matchup. He's not hard to kill. He's more of just hard to get a hold of, like Orianna. And his ultimate ability is just completely useless. And that makes it really bad for Sylas. So for that reason, he's a very hard matchup. Swain is... I can't remember the last time I've seen a Swain in the mid lane. If anything, I've been seeing him bottom. Either bottom or support. He's a pretty top laner kind of champion. But we'll include him in this. He is basically the bread and butter, the cornerstone, the landmark of Conqueror. He's one of the only champions I'd like to take Conqueror with because... when you steal his ultimate, you feel the powers from Zeus flow into your body as you're just a monster. And long fights, that's what Conqueror is, by the way. Conqueror is perfect for long fights. Electrocute's perfect for bursts. And you want to be in a long fight with Swain. I mean, God, the healing is insane. You probably do more damage than a Swain would. And you just feel so strong. He's an amazing ultimate to steal. But he's a pretty tough laning phase, which is why he's going to go into the OK pile. He has a lot of poke. He's got CC. He can combo you really well. If he has electrocute, he's really freaking annoying because he'll just E, Q, electrocute, run away. He's definitely got the range on you. He's kind of hard to get a hold of, but his ultimate is just too good on Sylas to be any lower, any higher than OK. The laning phase is a little tough, but his range is pretty small. You just kind of have to be scared of his Q because it's on a low cooldown. He could just Q and poke you a lot. But once his E is down as well, that's when you want to fight him. So it's another game where don't use your dash until he's used his E, because if you use your dash, he's going to immediately E you, you got no escape, and boom, he's going to pull you back. So once he uses his E, try to bait it out. Then you could use the dash, boom, 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 you kill him. He's got no mobility. He only has movement speed from phase rush if he takes it. And he's a pretty easy character to lock down. But the main reason why we're putting him in the OK pile is because his ultimate is just amazing. So if you're playing against Swain, definitely take Conqueror. And just, I would try to steal Swain's ulti as much as possible. Definitely go for Azonius pretty early on because it's really good for that. Same with Fiddlesticks. And yeah, he's OK for sure. Lissandra has always been known to be one of Sylas' hardest matchups, and she's even harder now. The weird thing is she got buffed, and I see no one playing her. If I saw people playing her, I would probably ban her way more often, because I personally think she's one of the worst matchups with Sylas for the reason that her Q, if you didn't know the buff, the Q is only 40 mana now. So she's just a champion that is just so good at keeping Sylas off the minions. It's so frustrating. It's really hard to play against, and she's really hard to get a hold of because not only is her Q really good poke, but anytime you dash into her, she'll just E you and boom, you're gone. I mean, she's just really, really hard to get a hold of. Her E is fantastic for Sylas because whenever Sylas gets too close with her, she just E's him away, and then well crap, what do you do? Even if you hit your E2, she can push you away. So Syndra is known to be one of the hardest matchups, definitely, and not a very good ulti to steal, because when you steal her ultimate, you only have 3 balls, 3 spears, whereas she can have up to 5. It's not the best ultimate, but it still does damage. So if you need to, you should take it for the extra damage, but don't rely on it to do all of the damage. It'll just be like more of an execute. In this laning phase, you might want to go Q max. You might want to go Fleet Footwork. I would definitely take TP because she's just gonna, she's that kind of person that will walk right in front of the minions and just Q you, and you're just like, God, am I in hell? And you just want to stay in range for minions. If you get a gank, that's when you would play aggressive, but I wouldn't even try to trade her. I wouldn't try to trade with her because, like I said, her E is just such a good ability to knock you off of the CS. Give her the respect that she deserves. And yeah, if she gets more popular, I definitely suggest banning her. For some reason, people aren't playing her right now, which is great, so we'll take it as it is. So Taliyah is the next in the mid lane. We are going to put her... We don't really see her in mid lane anymore. We see her more in jungle, one of those champions. But she's really freaking annoying. I'm actually going to put her in the hard, and I was thinking why. The main reason I'm putting her in the hard versus OK is because her ultimate sucks. It's kind of like a Ryze ult, but a little bit better. It's a long cooldown. It doesn't really offer you that much. Her laning phase is really hard to play against because she constantly just pokes you with her Q. Her mana costs are low. Her E is a slow. Her W is a knockback. Really, really awkward for Sylas and really hard to play against, to be honest. But she's really immobile. She has no dashes and no speed ups. So she's pretty easy to get a hold of. If you land a combo on her, she's pretty squishy, so you will be able to one-shot her, especially if you take Electrocute and Ignite. So she's in the hard pile because her laning phase is very difficult, but she's not impossible to play against. In this matchup, I would be very, very respectful until you hit level 3. Then when you hit level 3, you can be a little more hasty, you can go for more trades and stuff like that. And then after you get about 2 trades in, you should be able to one-shot her and kill her. So you kind of just want to use all of your abilities, then run away, use all of your abilities one more time, and then kill her. Post 6, not much is going to change. It's kind of that same mentality. Unfortunately, her ulti doesn't really give you any advantage in these trades, so it's going to be a little harder. Her roaming is really good, so that's really hard to keep up with. Her lane shoving, she shoves you into lane a lot, so she's a really hard matchup to play against. And when you do play against her, just be respectful of her mana costs and cooldowns and stuff like that. But she's not impossible to kill. If she used her W and E, then feel free to jump right in her because she's got nothing, and you'll probably have to burn a flash there. Alrighty, so Talon. Talon has probably the best level 2 in the game, and really, really hard matchup for Sylas, but it's not very hard. The reason we're going to put him in hard is because he's melee. If he were ranged, he would be very hard, but because he struggles with the same things as Sylas, he's not that bad. He's the only champion, though, that does out-trade Sylas. Even though Sylas does heal on his W, this guy doesn't care because his passive is just brutal and it makes you bleed and it's just so fast, and if he takes electrocute, Talon has the strongest level 2 in the game. That's a fact. You definitely want to respect him until you're at least level 3. Do not even go for a trade with this guy because he will win it, especially because of the bleed, of the ignite. Bleed and ignite will almost do half the damage over time, and you won't even realize you're dead until you're dead. Your W healing won't even matter anymore. So Talon, you gotta respect him. He's really slippery because of his E, which just jumps around all of these freaking terrain. His ultimate is pretty cool to steal. Now, it doesn't do a lot of damage. If you've ever stolen Talon ulti, you'll notice that. But obviously, giving you camouflage and movement speed is fantastic as a Sylas. And you can kind of you can get out of a sticky situation or chase an enemy with that. So it's really, really good for that specific reason. The most problem people run into playing Sylas against Talon is the level 2. So because most of the time Talon will win lane just because he makes you recall level 2 or kills you level 2. That's how bad it is. So honestly, as long as you play cool, respect him until level 3, then start going for some trades, it should be a pretty easy lane. Just respect his level 2 all-in potential with the ignite and the damage that he does carry with him. I don't see Teemo in the mid lane, and obviously you're not going to play against a Sylas. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have skipped that. We're going to skip Teemo. He's more of a top laner matchup. I almost never see him mid. So we'll keep that for a top lane video matchup. Twisted Fate, this is it's pretty tough, but it's also pretty easy. We're putting him in the hard because of almost everyone in the hard pile, like Taliyah, like Rumble. He's got no dash, no mobility, no speed up. But his poke is freaking annoying. I mean, he's just constantly throwing cards and doing this and doing that. Yellow card you. It sucks. But if he has no yellow card, if he has nothing, you can one-shot him really easily. The laning phase is going to be tough, I won't lie. Even post 6, his ulti is not going to help you do more damage. And it's really, really stressful to play against Twisted Fate because he constantly shoves your lane in and then roams. The problem with Twisted Fate isn't the matchup exactly, it's more of how much he helps his team. So take TP when you go with Twisted Fate, because you'll most likely need to be roaming as much as he does. He's going to shove in the lane to you a lot, so to counter him shoving the lane into you, you want to clear it as soon as possible. Don't let the wave come to the tower, and if it does come to the tower, try to kill it as soon as possible, because what a Twisted Fate's mindset is, he wants to shove in the lane and then roam. If you clear the wave, and you make the wave go into his tower, he's not really able to roam. So just try to be on top of wave clear, use your passive, use your mana. Don't be afraid to use your passive and mana to clear the wave, and just constantly try to keep the pressure on him. Don't let him roam, and if he does roam, obviously use TP. Be mindful of stealing his ultimate because it's a really long cooldown. By itself, it's an extra long cooldown for Sylas. So only steal it when you know an objective is up. Like say Dragon just came up and everyone's starting to crowd around Dragon or Baron, then steal the Twisted Fate ulti. It's obviously very good for its vision as well. So that's more of a team play ulti to steal. It doesn't offer damage, but it's really, really good to help your team, especially if you want to roam as well. If you're looking for a dive top lane, take the Twisted Fate ulti and then just hop right up there. And Twisted Fate is going to be in the hard category. Now, I know a lot of people might think that Veigar might be okay or even easy, but he's actually hard. Veigar is a really, really annoying champion because of his cage. You lock Sylas. If you get one cage around Sylas, damn, it's just the worst feeling. And the fact of the matter that if he gets one stun off you, he instantly kills you. Like I said, a lot of burst champions aren't good against Sylas But the one that is Veigar, because he just has so much burst, especially with his ulti, with these stuns. He's a very small figure, which makes it really hard to hit him, actually. A lot of champions vary in size. Veigar is very small, so he's actually really hard to get a hold of and do all of your damage to. But, and although he has no dash, he has no movement speed, whenever you do run into him, he can just put a cage around you, and for that reason, he's really hard to play against. Not very hard, because he offers a great ultimate. He is, if you land an E2 on him, he's really, really easy to instantly kill and one-shot. So, not an impossible matchup, but just a really hard, annoying matchup. He's got the CC, he's got the damage, he's really small, so it's hard to hit him. And we're going to put him in the hard pile. The good thing is he gives a very, very good ultimate, and it's another ultimate that you can cast it during your E2, so while you are jumping towards the enemy, mind you have his ultimate already stolen, you have to steal it before this, you can just instantly one-shot you R, W, boom, they just disappear out of thin air, and it's really good for that. But the laning phase is pretty tough. You gotta be respectful, but you also have to know once his cage is down, which is a pretty decently long cooldown, then feel free to go in and attack him, use your abilities, and hopefully one-shot him. Okay, so the Velkoz matchup. Velkoz is seen a lot more as a support now, obviously, but he still does appear in the mid lane sometimes. I personally think that he's okay, because he's poke heavy, he's really annoying, but man, this guy is so easy to hit. I mean, he's got no speed up, he's got nothing. His W barely even slows, and man, if you hit him once with your E2, that dude is gonna either have to flash or he's just deleted out of thin air. So definitely respect him in the early levels. Make sure you have a good amount of HP. Don't get too low. And then once you hit your level 3, you can be more aggressive towards him. You can take Electrocute or Conqueror. You're gonna be doing hella damage anyways, but just make sure that he doesn't have too big of a minion wave when you do fight him. And his ultimate does not proc his passive, which is a little annoying. His ultimate is going to deal more damage as himself than you, which is a bit of a rare thing that we see. Sometimes with Sylas stealing ultimates, usually it's better on Sylas because of his scaling, but because it does not proc Velkoz's passive, it's just not as good. But it's still a really good ultimate. It has amazing range, and it does a lot of damage. It slows, but I wouldn't always take it. Definitely use it if you need to keep your range from the enemy team. In this lane matchup, yeah, like I said, be respectful. Once you hit level 3, definitely start doing trades with him, and you should win. Wait out his cooldowns. Definitely his E more than anything, because his E will be really annoying for you. But once he uses his E, it's really easy to just jump on him. Use your dash to dodge his Q as well, and it's just a really great matchup for so many reasons. Alrighty, Viktor. Viktor we don't see too often, but he is freaking annoying to play against. I'm either deciding putting him into the hard or the okay category. I would say hard, mostly because he's a scaling champion, which we don't like. He scales probably better than Sylas, and Sylas scales very well. So it's obviously a ranged matchup. He has a lot of damage, he has a lot of poke. The good news is he has no dash, no extra movement speed other than his Q, but I don't really count that as too much movement speed. If he had a dash, he would probably be in the very hard. He also offers a really good ultimate to Sylas. Now, the good news is he's not very strong in the beginning of the game, so the laning phase actually isn't too bad with Viktor because his cooldowns are long, because his damage is just not quite there yet with his passive, obviously. So he's hard for actually the late game potential that he has. Obviously, the laning phase is a little hard because he is ranged, but it's kind of in Sylas's favor. You just gotta play around his field, and if you don't get poked down too much, it's not that bad. Normally, he pokes you down a lot in the beginning. If you have a healthy amount of pots and corrupting potion, whatever you take, if you survive until level 3 and you have a good amount of health and mana, then you could start doing some trades and you'll probably win the laning phase. Viktor's the kind of champion that will try to mow you down until you're level 3 and try to kill you before then, but if you stay alive, it should be pretty good. His ultimate's really great for Sylas, but it's also really great for Viktor. You could cast it during your E2, which is when you pull yourself in, you can cast it immediately. Really good for burst damage. Viktor normally takes phase rush, so the good thing is you can kill him quickly. The bad news is if you don't kill him in one shot, he'll most likely out-kite you. So make sure you go very aggressive. I recommend taking Electrocute and Ignite for this matchup so you can just instantly one-shot him. Otherwise, if you let a Viktor run around for days, he'll just kind of kill everyone with his laser, which is really annoying. So try to be aggressive as possible, but also respect him in the early levels. Now, Vladimir, is pretty good for Sylas, actually. I would say we're gonna put him in the easy. No, we'll put him in the easy pile, actually. Now, I was going to say he's okay because he scales really well, but Sylas scales really well too. Vladimir is pretty easy, mostly because his laning phase is really bad, and you can take advantage of that. Kind of for the same reason that Kassadin is in the easy pile, although Kassadin's really strong late in the game. If you're aggressive towards Vladimir, you can stop him from scaling to that point. Definitely take Electrocute, definitely take Ignite, and just try to be really aggressive on him. Just constantly use your abilities, get the Electrocute proc off, then run away, use the abilities again, Electrocute proc, run away. His cooldowns are really long at the beginning of the game, and he doesn't heal very much, so you will out-trade him. And your ulti is really good as Sylas when you steal Vladimir's ulti. It might not be as good as his, it might be a little hard to do, but obviously any ultimate that does damage and heals you is a Sylas ulti that we like a lot. So play really aggressive, honestly, in the early times of the game. Take Ignite, try to stop him from scaling, and just be mindful of his cooldowns, which are really long in the beginning. Always try to bait out his pool. The pool is mostly going to be the biggest reason why you won't be able to kill him. But if you bait it out, it's a really long cooldown, and then once that's out of the way, you can go in for the kill. That's why taking Ignite is really good, is that he might pool too late, and then you can just kill him with Ignite while he's there. Alrighty, Xerath. Xerath is another champion, kind of like Velkoz, that has been transitioned into support lately, but we still see him in the mid lane. He is pretty freaking annoying, but he's annoying for the same reason that Velkoz is. In my opinion, he is a little harder to play against Velkoz, but he's no movement speed, he's got no dash, he's really easy to lock down. The only thing you gotta worry about is his E, which is a stun. Normally he will wait until you dash and then E you, but you want to bait his E out. Once he already uses it, feel free to use your dash, go in, and then he's really easy to kill. Obviously he's squishy. His poke is really annoying. He's like Velkoz, like I said, in the same way that the early levels, he's just going to hit you from a really far range. He's going to Q you, he's going to W you and slow you. So be respectful towards him. Levels 1 to 3, but once you're level 3, definitely feel free to start going in for some trades, for some combos. Get boots early on to kind of dodge his Q and his W, because those are obviously his main damage dealers as a ranged champion, really good for poke. But once you hit level 3, definitely, tell your jungler to come gank, go in for some aggressive plays, hit your E2 hopefully, bait out his E. His ultimate is very okay to steal. Not really Sylas' playstyle, because Sylas likes to get really close and kill people, but Xerath's ulti also gives you the ability to hit them from far range, which is still good, and it scales really well with Sylas' AP. It's just a very awkward thing to have when you're Sylas, and you don't want to use it in the middle of your fights, so you want to be at a safe distance when you do it, just like how Xerath is. Yasuo. I get a lot of thoughts about Yasuo right here, and he's the same as Akali. Like I said earlier, Akali is a skill-dependent matchup. Yasuo is a skill-dependent matchup too. I've seen a lot of Yasuos destroy Sylas's, but I've also seen a lot of Sylas's destroy Yasuo. Now, the laning phase, most people lose it for the reason that his auto attacks just do more damage than yours in the early game. So definitely don't fight him until you're at least level 3, because he will beat you in an auto attack fight. He has Conqueror normally, and he just constantly stabs you while you're trying to go for CS. So be wary, try to go around the minions, try to last hit, because he will try to be aggressive towards you. And his passive ability, which is a shield flow, is really annoying to play against. The good thing about Sylas, in a way that Sylas actually does counter him, is that you can use your Q to knock out that shield and then try to fight him. Another very annoying thing, though, is that Yasuo's Wind Wall blocks your E, your chain, and it also, if you try to steal an ultimate, whether it's Yasuo's or someone's, and he puts a wall in front, you will not get an ultimate and it'll go on cooldown. And let me tell you, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. Yasuo's ultimate is pretty good for Sylas to steal. Now, not many people know this, but your E2 does knock them up for 0.35 seconds. So you can actually use Yasuo's ultimate off of your own E. Mind you, it's very hard, and like I said, Yasuo can wind wall your E2, so you might not even get that knockup. But a fantastic thing is that just like Yasuo, if you have players that have knockups, it can be a really, really good ulti to steal. And because Sylas likes to get up close and personal with people, say if you have a Malphite on your team and an enemy picked Yasuo, you're like a better Yasuo Malphite combo, which is pretty cool in some ways. So there's a lot of diversity in how well this matchup can go. It can either go really well for Sylas or really south. It just depends on the Yasuo player, to be honest. I definitely recommend going Seeker's Arm Guard first for this matchup. It really makes it hard for Yasuo to do anything because most of the time he's going to try to Q you in lane. And make sure to use your Q to knock out his passive before doing a trade. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of useless as he shields up most of the damage. Now, normally Yone's here. I'm seeing that he's not. Yone and Viego. Viego's not really a mid laner anymore, so we're going to skip that. Alrighty, so next, Zed. Zed, a lot of people think Zed is pretty hard for Sylas, but I actually think he's okay. He has its complications, and he's a strong champion in general, but it's actually not impossible, and for the reason is that once Zed uses his shadow, he's really immobile. He's got nothing. So Zed's actually not that bad of a matchup for Sylas. I actually do win it a lot. I would go Seeker's Arm Guard first item, but honestly, Zed's really easy to maneuver around. And like I said, when he doesn't have his shadow, he's really easy to kill and very easy to burst down quickly. Now, a complication is obviously his ultimate, and here's a neat trick for you. You always want to be the second one to ultimate. So if Zed never ulti a Zed first, the Zed will win. But if you ulti him second, he kind of loses his limbo, and you most likely will win most of the time. So in my experience, that's where most people find their complications. Just make sure you steal Zed's ultimate, and you ultimate after he does. You never want to be the first one, because that's how he gets all his shadows out of the way. And just be very mindful of his shadows. That's the most important thing. As well as his CSing. His poke is obviously annoying. As an energy champion, he can constantly throw shurikens at you, but you can trade with him pretty well because he is a melee champion. So once you hit level 3, definitely use your W to get some health back here and there. You can get some damage off on him, and definitely go Zhonya's second item. Get the Seeker's Arm Guard as soon as possible to help mitigate his damage. And it's a very cooldown reduction conscious battle in the mid lane. Sylas actually loves Zed ulti too. Obviously any ultimate that gets up close and personal for Sylas he likes. So Zed's ultimate is really cool for that. And you can actually go, you have one shadow when you do steal Zed's ultimate. So don't be afraid to tower dive when you steal it. You can do the same thing Zed does, and you can recast it to go back to your original place, which is really cool. Alrighty, Ziggs. Ziggs is coming back into play a lot, actually, which is really annoying. But he's, obviously he has a little poke, which Sylas doesn't like, but not too much, and he's pretty easy to kill, so he's only going to go in the hard place. Of course, anyone who pokes a lot is really annoying. His auto attacks even do a lot of damage, but Ziggs is really immobile. He's really squishy. He's kind of like Veigar, in my opinion. He's a very small champion. In the early game, he's definitely just going to constantly whack bombs at you and like hit you off of CS. So you want to be respectful for him from levels 1 through 3, but once you're level 3, you could be a little more aggressive once you have all of your moves. He's usually going to use his W to get away from you, but even then, it's pretty hard for him to actually get away from you. If you hit an E2, he'll most likely die immediately, and Ziggs' ultimate is another ultimate that you can ER combo with, and what that means is you can second cast E, and then while you're pulling yourself into the enemy, drop that bomb on them. It does a lot of damage. Ziggs ult, it does a lot of damage in general, so it does really well with Sylas' scaling, and it's a pretty good ultimate to steal. The main complication and the reason Ziggs is in this hard place is because of his insane poke and range. He can really just whale bombs at you so many times for so long, so that's the reason why. But if you can avoid that and kind of just nail onto him with your E2, get the minions out of the way, then it's a pretty free kill. Zoe. We haven't done a very hard person in a while, but Zoe is very hard and really annoying to play against. For the same reason that Ryze is really hard to play against, it's a pretty useless ulti. Really doesn't offer Sylas that much. Yes, you get a passive proc out of it. Yes, it gives you some distance. And yes, you could actually do some pretty neat E2 plays with it. But compared to other ultimates, it's just really annoying. And not to mention the fact that the laning phase is just brutal, because level 2 she'll get an ignite for free, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. She's really just annoying with that, but she's pretty easy to kill. She does have movement speed, she does have her ulti, she has the bubble, she is easy to kill, but for the same reason that Orianna is also easy to kill. If you go in, she's gonna bubble you, and she's gonna do this, and she's really good at kiting you. And as a Sylas player, we don't like people who kite us. So she's very hard, and if you don't like Zoe, like I know a lot of people do not, definitely don't be afraid to ban her. She's really annoying to play against. She's really good at pushing Sylas off CS. So the best thing I could say is play very respectable levels 1 to 3. Be conscious of what summoner spells she has, because she might get a really good one, and go for trades here and there. But if you don't go, you know, you don't have to. If she has an ignite, don't go for a trade. It's mostly best to signal your jungler to come gank, because she's pretty easy to kill and gank. But the amount of poke, laning, bubble, really annoying stuff that are from a distance, that's where the major complications come in from Zoe. So definitely, I actually recommend taking ignite. Try to kill her in one go. She's really squishy. Try not to take too much poke from her. Give her the respect she deserves, but also not too much, where you're constantly just kind of like playing scared. Definitely be aggressive if she doesn't have anything that threatens you. Zyra is another champion that's like basically a support right now. But we do see her in the mid lane sometimes. She's definitely okay. The only reason she's not easy is because her E is really freaking annoying. She has a lot of poke damage on you, and her plants obviously do a lot, but she has no dash, she has no speed up. She's really easy to lock down. She gives a great ultimate, which like Ziggs, you can combo into an E ulti combo, and it does a lot of damage. She's really squishy. The main problem is the laning phase, the poke, the plants, and stuff like that. But they are pretty easy to maneuver around after a few levels. So that being said, this matchup is more conscious of her cooldowns and her mana. Once she uses her E and Q, feel free to go in on her. But if she still has them up, I really recommend not fighting her at all. Focus on your CSing and kind of just wait until she uses her spells, and then you use yours. Because if you dash first, she will immediately get on the aggressive and CC chain you. And it's really easy to die from just distance of Zyra, which makes her a threat. And last champion, well, not exactly the last champion, Lulu, who's also a support, but we've been seeing in the mid lane, is pretty awful. And I'm only going to put her in hard because her polymorph. Her polymorph is just so annoying. The laning phase is annoying. She has a lot of poke. She doesn't have a lot of damage, but she has a lot of poke. The polymorph is the main reason why I think anyone who plays people like Zed or just any champion, polymorph is awful, and they can instantly screw an amazing play if it's a good Lulu player just by the ability, just one ability. Her ultimate's great. She's really hard to kill though, which is where the complication comes in, where she is squishy, but she has shields and she has her ulti, and it makes it hard to get a good trade-off on her. You really have to one-shot her, but she is really hard to one-shot. Her ulti is good to steal, but not for damage purposes, more for just like sustain. So I like to steal her ultimate if I'm trying to be a team player. Most of the time I won't even ultimate myself. I'll save it for a teammate who goes in and things like that. But Lulu is just... I just had a heart attack. Lulu is an annoying champion, is to say the least. I don't think she's really great. I don't think she's really good. I don't think her damage is high. She's just an annoying champion. And most of this, you're just going to kind of strain your mental and be annoyed with her. So I also noticed we're missing a few champions here. Yone, Viego, and Akshan. Now, I guess we'll count Viego. He just got nerfed. He's more of a jungler. So we're going to use these guys. I don't really know how to bring in other people. I'll still have the timestamp though. So we'll just use Cho'Gath as Viego. Now, let's talk about Viego after the nerfs. He used to be really good. He used to be really annoying to play against. But now he's okay. Because his sustain in the lane was the main reason why he was a problem. Now that he doesn't have that, he can't really compete with Sylas, because Sylas has sustain in the lane, obviously, with his W. Yone would be able to really out-trade him and stuff like that, but Viego, I keep saying Yone. Viego had a lot of sustain, but that's the reason that they nerfed him, and he's just not very good anymore for that. Now, the reason he's on okay and not easy is because he's still a fantastic champion. The laning phase is easier, that's for sure, and he's not as powerful, but he's just an annoying champion in general, and his ultimate's not very good to steal. It has distance, it has a little bit of damage, but it's just much better on him than it is on us. And the also awful flip side is that if you do die a Sylas, Viegos love to steal your soul. It's so good for a Viego player when he steals a Sylas because it's just an amazing kid and stuff like that. So that's a big reason why he's okay. The laning phase isn't really that bad for Viego though, and I wouldn't even go Seeker's Arm Guard because I don't think he does that much damage. I would go straight into your build and build pretty aggressively. Go for trades here and there, but he won't be bullying you. His sustain is not very great. Now, we'll use Ezreal as Yone. Now, Yone is basically Yasuo, but better. is how I see Yone. And the thing about Yone is the same reason of Yasuo and Akali, where it's a skill-dependent matchup, I believe. I can see the Sylas destroying Yone, but I could also see a Yone destroying a Sylas. The thing about Yone that makes it a little more complicated is that his scaling is phenomenal. If a Yone gets into late game, I think he's genuinely better than a Kassadin. He is just so hard to kill and so annoying. Laning phase-wise, he's not that bad though, because he has really long cooldowns. Like Sylas in the beginning of the game, his E almost on a 22-second cooldown, and he has not much mobility. It's pretty easy for Sylas to be aggressive, and if you do hit a combo on him, you should be able to kill him in one flow. Definitely take Ignite against him because he will be healing a lot, and take Electrocute. Go for quick trades here and there, but don't do anything longer, because for the same reason Yasuo trades you, if you do a trade for too long, they will beat you, but if you just get all of your abilities out of the way, you should be okay in that matchup. Really, it's just you want to be respectful until you're at least level 3, and then you want to go for some combos here and there. You want to keep getting your Electrocute proc off until he's basically dead, and be mindful of his E for sure, but it's not very threatening. His ulti is pretty good to steal a Sylas. The damage is not there, but obviously gives a lot of range, and it's really good for some combos. So I really like stealing Yone's ulti, especially because you can combo it really well with your E, which is really fun. And last but not least is the new champion, Auction. We'll use Morgana as Auction. Auction is not a very good champion in general, more of just like annoying champion late game when he has the revive, but because he is ranged and because he's really good against us, we're gonna put Auction probably in the okay. His damage isn't great, he's pretty easy to kill. If he uses his hook, he's not that bad to get around. He's only mobile from that, but he's extremely squishy. The only annoying thing about Auction right now is that he's building Wit's End. Wit's End is just a fantastic item in general, and I hate this meta because everyone builds Wit's End, but he's pretty easy champion to lock down. His ulti's not very good to steal, but other than the fact that he's ranged, he's really not that much of a threat, and his range isn't even that great. It's a pretty small range, so we'll keep him in the okay pile for now. Now, I actually am realizing this mid laner tier list isn't perfect, and I'm remembering that Lucian mid is also a pain in all of our butts. So for Lucian, we'll use this Nautilus icon, and Lucian goes into the very hard category. How could I forget about this monstrosity of a champion? And honestly, Tristana, I'll just include Tristana here at the same time, because Tristana and Lucian are both awful for the same reason. They're ADC marksman mid laners who just poke you and do damage the whole time. Almost impossible to play against. So annoying. Definitely take TP. Be extremely respectful for both of them until at least level 3. And even level 3, they just constantly poke you down. Their damage is insane. Luckily, we haven't been seeing too much Lucian and definitely not Tristana anymore. We see Lucian here and there. But this laning phase will always just be a terror for Sylas no matter how much they nerf Tristana and Lucian mid lane. Really annoying. You want to be respectful, but the good news is both of their ultimates are so good on Sylas. So that being said, be very respectful of them, levels 1 through 6. Just try to be in XP range. I know you will probably not get a lot of CS. That's okay, don't worry about it. Just try to be around for XP from the minions, and if you are low, take TP so you can TP back the lane. You really don't want to miss XP on those. And then once you hit level 6, you could be really aggressive. I wouldn't really trade with them because obviously both of them have a dash or a jump. So either wait for a jungler to gank, don't even try, and use your mana and abilities to farm minions. Alrighty, that's going to be it for the video, guys. If you liked the video, definitely put a like on it. Comment down below what you think about it. And if this video gets 1,000 likes, we'll definitely do a part 2 with top lane matchups and tier lists. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already, and that's gonna be it from me, guys. I hope this helped you out in your champ select or wherever you are. Peace.